Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes life drops you into a valley so deep that you wonder if you'll ever climb out. The shadows get heavy, the silence gets loud, and the walls feel like they're closing in. But what if I told you the valley you're in is not the place you'll die? It's the very ground where your victory is being prepared. What looks like burial is actually planting. What feels like defeat is the training ground for your destiny. Stay with me, because your valley is not the end of the story. It's the pathway to your victory. When life drops you into a valley, the first thought that often floods your mind is that you've been abandoned, overlooked, or buried under the weight of your problems. But what you must realize is that a valley is never the conclusion of your journey. It is only a chapter in the larger story that is still being written. Just because you are in the middle of a low place does not mean you've reached the end of the road. The valley is not meant to be a permanent residence. It is a passage, a transition, a season that carries you forward towards something greater. Think about what a valley really is. It sits between two mountains. That means if you find yourself in a valley, there is another mountain on the other side waiting for you. Too often we mistake the valley as a grave when it is really a bridge. It may feel like darkness has surrounded you, but darkness is not a dead end. It is often the very soil where seeds sprout and life begins to grow. When you plant a seed, it goes into the dirt, covered, hidden, unseen. From the outside, it may appear as though it has been buried, but in reality, it has been positioned for transformation. The valley works the same way. It may look like you're down, but you're only being prepared to rise stronger than before. The valley forces you to confront what you believe. It strips away distractions, comforts, and illusions of control. Up on the mountain, it's easy to feel confident because you can see far ahead. In the valley, the view is limited, the shadows are long, and the silence feels heavy. But it is there, when you cannot see your way out, that you learn to depend on something greater than yourself. The valley teaches reliance. It reminds you that human strength is not enough to carry you through. It is in the low place that faith is forged, that trust is tested, and that character is shaped. So many people quit in the valley. They pitch their tent in the middle of their pain and decide that this is all life has for them. They confuse a season with a sentence. But valleys were never designed to be prisons. They are pathways. If you stop moving, you will never discover the mountain that waits ahead. The valley is temporary. It's not a question of if you will come out. It's a matter of when. But whether you come out bitter or better depends on the attitude you choose while you are still in it. Consider how battles are often fought in valleys. In history, the valley has been the place where armies clash, where struggles are decided, where destiny is shaped. A valley is not empty, it is active. Your valley may feel like a fight, but it is in that very place that victories are won. You don't win strength on the mountaintop. You develop it in the depth of the valley. The weight of struggle is what builds the muscle of perseverance. Without resistance, there is no growth. Without opposition, there is no triumph. When you are in the valley, it is easy to focus on what you've lost, what you can't see, and what seems impossible. But valleys always hold hidden resources. Streams run in the valleys, fertile soil rests in the valleys. The very things you need to sustain life often exist where it seems the lowest. You may think you're empty, but the valley carries provision you can't always see at first glance. Sometimes the valley is where you discover a strength you never knew you had, a clarity you couldn't gain on the mountaintop, and a resilience that only hardship can produce. The danger is believing that your valley is your final address, but valleys are not destinations. They are transitions. The fact that you are in a valley means you are on your way somewhere. You may be walking through shadows, but you are still walking. As long as there is movement, there is momentum. As long as there is momentum, there is progress. And progress means the valley cannot hold you forever. Every mountain requires a climb, but before the climb, there is always a descent. Nobody gets to the next peak without passing through the space in between. That space may be difficult, but it is necessary. It teaches humility before honor, patience before promotion, and endurance before elevation. The valley is not punishment. It is preparation. If you bypass the valley, you miss the very development required to stand strong on the next mountain. Sometimes the valley is allowed to show you what really matters. When everything else is stripped away and you are left with nothing but questions, it forces you to reevaluate your priorities. It reveals the foundation you're standing on. In the quietness of the valley, distractions fade and you see with sharper vision. What looked important on the mountaintop suddenly loses its grip when you're fighting to survive in the low place. The valley brings clarity. The beauty of the valley is that it doesn't last forever. Seasons change. Storms pass. Shadows move. What feels endless is only temporary. If you can endure the valley, you will reach the other side. And when you do, you'll discover that the valley has given you something the mountain never could: strength, resilience, and testimony. What you learn in the valley becomes the very foundation for the victory waiting ahead. So when you find yourself in the valley, don't give up. Don't stop moving. Don't set up permanent residence where you were only meant to pass through. Lift your eyes and remember, the valley is not your final destination. It's the road that carries you toward your next mountain, the passage that transforms your pain into strength, and the pathway that turns your struggle into victory.